Okay. Hang out.
I can't tell what's on live or not. Everything
is on.
Okay. So episode 26.
Yes.
That I didn't know we were doing until 10 minutes ago.
That's okay.
That's all right.
You didn't have to tell the world that. Where's the chat
That's true.
thing?
The chat things are going to be right down here. Right there.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
All right. Now we're on.
Yep. Okay.
So today is day 71 for the eggs.
How long are corn stick eggs typical? I mean, I know it's a range, but like,
right.
What's
if you want to go, I think I was reading the Bill Love and Kathy Love book, the corn snake, like basically guide to keeping corn snakes, all this stuff. And they said their average ended up being around 73 days, I think it was.
So what did you say we're on?
We're on 71.
Okay.
So I did light them, like candle them. So if people don't know what candling is, I just put the light on my phone, made the room dark, and put the light
to see the
basically
the
put
veins
the light
and
through
things.
the egg. Right.
Okay.
And then I just looked at all the little babies moving around.
So you can actually see like.
Yeah, you could see like little shadows moving around. When I tried to get you to see them, it was like particularly bad. None of them were.
Yeah, when I was
very
looking,
visible.
So, I mean, they look pretty fully formed. Is already.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I don't know if they're ready to go out of the egg, but you could see its head moving around, their head moving around. So
that's weird because I looked the other day, but clearly I didn't.
Well,
know what
I don't think they
for.
were cooperating correctly.
And it's hard, at least for me. It was hard for me to do it because they're all stuck together, and so to get the right
that's
angle,
why the right angle and
to make it
where
show.
the baby is right now, like.
Right.
Their head has to be in the right angle to be able to see them moving around anyway. But either way, you can usually at least see a little bit of movement or a shadow that may move around. But
so is putting a flashlight, that's the best method for checking on them. There's no other.
Cut them open.
Oh, but that doesn't. No. I've seen that. I've seen people on like Instagram and thing. They lift the little flap up. Why do they?
Right. Just to see what they got. It's
but that
mostly done in like you see a lot of people with ball pythons doing
that.
That
wouldn't hurt it at all. That wouldn't.
No, I mean
the hatching
thing
process?
is, the rule of thumb for most species, if not all species, is going to be to don't cut the egg until you have at least one baby pipping. So that's going to be that all the babies are fully developed that are going to be fully developed. So that would be your common rule. Or if it's ball pythons, maybe 55 days, maybe that point.
That's when you can open it.
Right. Yeah. But necessarily, like, things develop differently. I mean, not everything develops at one time on a specific day. So.
But people just assume like if it's pipping is the word or pipping?
Pipping just means that, the snake broke through with its egg tooth and may have like its nose sticking out.
So people assume that if one is pipping, that it's safe to open up the other ones because they're
right. And even though some may fall behind developmentally, they're still going to come out around the same time.
Right. But that you said that's typically for ball pythons. Is it less ideal to do it for other?
With corn snakes, it's just kind of, for me at least, a size thing and a number thing. I mean,
what do you mean?
For ball pythons, the egg gets very dented, very like you've seen an egg that's almost full term to where it gets those dents in it and they've sucked up like most of the yolk.
Right.
Which gives you like a good cushion to pinch the egg and
it makes it almost look like a slug at the end once they're fully formed because it's slug eggs are dented, they're not.
Right.
So it's like
they're still light and eggy.
Yeah. Okay, so do corn snakes suck up all the stuff like ball pythons do?
I don't feel that it's as dramatic as when ball pythons, because the ball python eggs just seem to be so much bigger and more leathery.
But you'd think they'd both want the whatever nutrients or whatever they're getting from the juices. You would think any snake would.
Well, that's just the size thing.
Okay.
So it's really just the ball python egg is easier to. Also, people really want to see what they're getting for ball pythons. I mean, with the corn snake, you're not going to be able to make a little window and be able to really see. It's hard to tell anyway, even when they're fully out of the egg. So you don't.
Right. With
it's just
ball pythons,
silly.
it's just easier.
Yeah, unless you have a baby that hasn't come out yet and it's like a day or two behind everyone else, then you may want to go ahead
to do that.
Maybe it was born without an egg tooth. That's always everyone's excuse to cut open an egg, is that it might not be born with an egg tooth.
What is that? I've never heard that.
The egg tooth is like, I'm not sure if it's a scale that's modified in the front of their nose that falls off at their first shed that's going to allow them to cut the egg. You know, because otherwise, how do they get out of the egg?
I don't know. How do birds get out of their eggs?
Well, they have beaks.
Oh my God, that was dumb. Okay.
But they may have modified beaks at that point, even to get out of the egg better.
So they have so snakes have just one little tooth that hangs down, and that's how they get it out, or that's how they get out.
Yeah, like on its rostral scale.
Rostral, what does that mean?
That means like the nose scale. It's a scale that's clefted up in order for the tongue to come out on a snake.
I'm trying to imagine it.
Well, like think of a hog nose. Theirs is upturned.
Right. So they have an easier way to get out because they already have that pointy nose.
It's not pointy like that. They still have an egg tooth.
But
it's not sharp like how leathery the eggs are. Like we need a razor blade to
cut it open. So that
eggs,
egg tooth is as sharp as a razor blade.
Right.
And is it something you literally?
I don't know.
What?
I don't know if it's exactly a razor blade.
No. Right. But so like after they come out the egg, like you can literally see the egg tooth. Like it's a thing. You know what I mean?
Kind of. I mean, I've seen pictures of people who have them. It's kind of hard to see. But
okay. But you know they have to have it to get out.
Right. And then no matter what, by their first shed, it's gone.
Have you ever had one that can't get, like, hasn't been able to get out?
I had one corn snake that was wrapped up in the umbilical. I mean, most of the time you're not going to catch that. But I mean, I happened to see that everyone else was hatching, and then they opened it up, and then I had to pull that one out of the egg. But that was really it.
Okay. Interesting.
But yeah, so they can get wrapped just like any baby. They can get wrapped in the umbilical cord and drown and stuff like that. So, but for the most part, you're gonna have all your babies. Ball pythons. Everyone's gonna be out within 2 to 3 days of each other, and corn snakes
that makes
probably
sense.
2 to 5 days. Yeah, I mean they're just under more of the what was I talking? they're exposed to the same variables as all the other eggs.
Right,
so
all the other, so they should come out at the same time.
Pretty much at the same rate, but corn snake eggs, there's more of them, plus there's going to be different, like I just put them in the room. So I probably mentioned this before, but all I do is I incubate in a room in my snake room. So they're only at like from 73 degrees to like lately they've been at like 75.5.
So it's not a huge difference.
But it's pretty low in temperature. So I knew that they were going to take longer than.
Okay.
So usually you can say if you put them at higher temperature, they're going to develop faster and go out faster. But they also may be a little bit smaller babies. If you do it slowly at lower temperatures, it's going to take them longer. But they're going to be able to absorb more of their yolk and
all that, right? Get the nutrients in the egg more. They're getting right.
But for me, it's just, or for any corn snake breeders, you pretty much do whatever's easiest, and you do whatever works. And then so if you don't have to set up an incubator, and corn snake eggs actually do well with variance in temperature, why not just put them in a regular room and not mess with the whole incubator? So, and most corn snake breeders don't even pay that much attention to
because they just think
temperature
the eggs they're gonna come out. You don't have to do anything.
For the most part, they're hardy enough to just do whatever. And then, I mean, if the eggs are that easy, the snake itself is that easy. Yeah. Like, not that I do it, but you could definitely 100% keep a corn snake at 75 degrees without any hot spot, without
and you think they'd be fine?
They'd be 100% fine.
What?
Yeah.
So then why does anyone
living like that right now?
Then why do it? Why put the hot spot? Like, if they don't, I mean, that goes back to our question of surviving and thriving.
It's just giving enough thermal gradient for them to do whatever they want. So I'm not sure how egg development and stuff like that would happen at lower temperatures. I mean, I haven't done that. They can definitely survive. I don't know if reproduction would be like lost a little bit. So I don't know.
Lilypad said, what if a snake eats a meal that's too big? Will it just throw it up?
Yeah, so there really is no meal that's too big.
Won't they not eat it if they're full?
They'll regurge if it's too big. Or
they wouldn't just not eat like.
But if you're feeding it, there's not really any reason why. Just stick to
whatever they're eating before. You wouldn't just
but stick to the width of the body of the snake. Especially that rule is a little bit different for different types of snake. It's a generality.
So you don't repeat that. You don't do something bigger than the width of the snake.
Yes.
Okay.
So like the width of the rat or mouse needs to be equivalent to the width of the snake. Colubrids can take a little bit bigger than that. Obviously, they're skinnier snakes in general. Carpet pythons in particular are going to be much skinnier than the prey that I give them. And you see pictures of carpet pythons in Australia with like kangaroos in their stomach, like little kangaroos that are like much bigger than you think that they would, like giant bulges in them. But so that's why I usually do.
Do they just have a more intense digestive system to be able to handle those much bigger?
I think it's just environmental factors. They grew up somewhere where larger mammals are
around.
Yeah, actually, like everything's around. It's very different than some other maybe even colubrids here who are feeding on like corn snakes in the wild, maybe feeding on a lot of anoles. And anoles are very small, so they're probably eating anoles often, smaller meals more often in comparison to maybe that carpet python who waits around for a big like marsupial or something to come by, or a mammal. So they just have more things to choose from there and different prey than maybe some of the snakes that eat just other reptiles as well.
They just just depends on options in the wild and how frequent those options are.
So there's so many snake keeping generalities, but for the most part, every snake's different. But if you follow those generalities, they'll survive.
It's still helpful to have, even though they have their own characteristics, it's helpful.
Yeah, but if I fed my carpet python once a week with a prey that's the size of the width of their body, they'd probably be really fat. So I do big meals every 3 weeks.
Gotcha.
But that's just the way. And the way you need to get more into it.
You learn your animal too.
You just look at them.
Just look at them.
But if you have no reference for what healthy looks like, then it'll be hard, obviously, to do it that way.
Right. Lilypad said, "Why are albino snakes yellow and albino mammals white? Excuse me." I've wondered that too.
That's a general statement too. It's not always.
Really, I feel like when you see those yellows, it's albino. Like the white is the leucistic, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what you mean. It's general. What are you saying?
Well, how white is white, and
think about albino people. They're not yellow. They're white. You're yellow. Albino people are. You're yellow. You're really yellow, even though your race on paper is
also
white.
I don't have like black spots on me or brown. No humans have black or brown spots, so their tan color becomes white, but their black to dark brown color becomes yellow. So what makes that pattern? So think about like what albinos, and yellow is going to be in pythons, by the way. A lot of colubrids, they're albino or amelanistics are going to be orange.
True. Right. When you think about a amel corn.
So it just matters what the base color is, because what you're doing
starting with
is robbing pigment. So it depends what pigment you start with.
So if you start with yellow, is there a snake that's not albino? Is there a snake that's yellow that's not albino? Name a snake that's yellow that's not, just starts with yellow.
There's snakes with yellow in them. and then I'm sure, and then like eyelash vipers as babies or green trees as babies. So if
you had a snake that starts as yellow and you had an albino of that, would the albino of the yellow one be closer to white?
I believe so. I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head of one.
By your logic, that makes sense. Depends on what you're starting with, because albinism is just taking away pigment. So that's why if you were albino, you
would still be darker than me if you were albino.
Right. Not albino. A whole lot, but I'd still be dark because you're starting off from a lighter color.
Right.
And humans are typically, but even like black people, they're still pretty white when they're albino.
Yeah.
But snakes, I don't know. But I feel like there's black people who are darker than a snake was, but the albino comes out lighter than the snake albino does. Does that make sense?
What? I mean, you can't compare a snake to a human.
Okay.
There's just too many. And then also there's variability in everything.
Right.
So there's brighter albinos, lighter albinos, and then species are all different. So like...
But the only two color within the range is yellow or orange. It's going to be a range of yellow or a range of orange. There's not another albino color that
for the most part. I mean, olive pythons are going to be, you start off with that olive color, make it albino, and it's starts off like yellow, but it's more of like a creamy yellow or a...
Really? Because that original color is so dark?
Because the original color is lighter than, say, or it's a different shade. It's like a greenish orange and a gray sometimes instead of that brown and black.
Okay. Evan says, what the fuck are we talking about?
I don't know.
We're trying to understand albino. Is it albinoism or albinism?
Albinism.
Albinism.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. See, Lilypad's always great with questions.
But the answer is fucking. It's all different.
It's all like it just
like
depends.
Everything else, and snakes and stuff like that.
But I'm gonna figure out later a snake that starts off yellow, and I want to see
mandarin rat snakes, but they're not all yellow. There's yellow parts of them, just like every.
But there's not something that's all yellow.
There's yellow rat snakes, but they're kind of orange.
So there's nothing that's all yellow.
I don't know what an albino yellow rat snake looks like.
Right. It would have to be lighter. We'll see. Man. Okay. Red Max player said king snake or piebald ball python. Which do you prefer?
Whichever one you feel like keeping.
Babe, that's a shit answer.
No, I mean, so what's the setup for a king snake? Whatever the hell you want it to be. What's the setup for a piebald ball python? Good heat source.
More difficult.
An enclosure that keeps better humidity. A hide, aspen, just like the regular things like you.
So it's how much effort you want to put into it.
Yeah, and then also, is that piebald going to be feeding on frozen thawed? Is it going to be feeding live? If you only have one snake, doesn't matter because you can just go to a pet store and get live. If you have multiple snakes, it may be easier to get something that's on frozen thawed.
But that's still effort. It's more it's more effort to go get live than to order.
King snakes will eat every day of the year if you want them to. And then also it comes to that point where some king snakes will eat everything, including
yours, including other eggs or you.
Yeah. So it's like a ball python is definitely going to be something that you're going to be able to hold and
touch and play with. King snake, it's kind of look and see.
I mean, but you can hold my king snake all day if you wanted to.
True.
So it's like, it's also a personality thing. You can get a ball python that's not very holdable.
Really? I thought they all were.
They all are pretty much, but there are some that have heavy like food responses and stuff like that. But
gotcha.
It's just
can you make
depends on what you like.
Can you make a generality?
No, because I'm biased. So I'm gonna say king snake because that's what I like a lot better.
Right. Evan said, let's talk about why shipping during the summer isn't the best idea, as someone just received a dead GTP due to heat.
Especially green trees, I wouldn't want to. I think I did get my green tree shipped from Dallas to New York.
And it came no problem?
Somewhat in the summer. Well, yeah. I mean, obviously we waited for a day that's going to be in the low 90s instead of in the hundreds.
A good breeder will watch the weather.
Yeah, and there's going to be they ship your reptiles in particular. They insure your shipment, and then it says, but it has to be in this heat window. Okay. And if it's in that window, then you have to use this material. If it's in that window, so if you're shipping, and the place you're going to is going to be really cold,
you're gonna have
then
different
depending
materials.
on what hub it's going to be staying at, you got to have heat packs, and then if it's really hot, have cool packs.
That makes sense.
But generally, you definitely don't want to ship anything over 100 degrees destination or
Because it's gonna be fucking hot. Like,
yeah, it's too hot.
It's just gonna, no matter what you put in there, it's hot.
Yeah, I mean, you're just mitigating your risks.
But
especially a green tree is going to be more prone to heat. You know, they really do really bad once you get to higher heats. So, yeah, I mean, corn snakes.
So in that instance,
I would adjust accordingly and ship them off, and they would probably be fine.
You should ship them all year round.
I would just say, let's go on the cool end and make it cold,
an 80,
because they'll be fine. Yeah. So it's like, I wouldn't do that, but if it's 100 degrees here and I had to, I could just make it cold, because they'll do fine at 70 degrees. They'll do fine at 65 degrees. So you just overcompensate. But if you're doing a python, if you're shipping a python, that's going to be a different story. Corn snakes brumate, right? So they're
used to that.
They can get down to 50 degrees with no problem and just shut their body down a little bit. But pythons are going to have a much more steady environment.
So if that happens, would you expect the breeder to give you your money back and send you another one? Like, what would your expectations be of the breeder if they send you a dead GTP?
I wanted to. Evan just said that he found out that ship your reptile insurance only covers if the animal is late.
Not so if it's dead?
If it's late and dead. So I guess if it's on time, then the responsibility falls on the person that's shipping it. But if it's late, obviously it falls on the shipper. Like
that makes sense. The shipping company, because they had an issue for it being late.
But then again, there's guidelines into getting your proper insurance. But I didn't know that it's only if it is late.
Yeah, he says if it's dead but on time, insurance. So, what would your expectations be of the breeder? If it's on time but dead, what would you expect the breeder to do?
Well, my reaction would always be, this is why whenever I buy an animal, they may say, hey, it's really hot here, whatever. I'm like, ship it whenever you feel comfortable. In a way, that's me being polite to them. But in another way, it's saying, I'm trusting you to use your best judgment. So if your animal dies, it's not
on
my
you.
fault.
I'm not asking for it tomorrow.
And then you will replace it for me if it comes dead.
Would you expect them to replace it and give you your money back or no?
No, I would just replace. But I mean, yeah, I don't need money and a snake.
Hey,
they're
up.
Yeah, but they're going to be shipping it twice, which is going to be money. Or if they don't have
you wouldn't
anything,
pay for shipping again, obviously.
No. If they have another snake to replace it, then that's perfect. If they don't, then you may have to go into a place where you have credit with that person. It all depends on your relationship.
If they don't have a snake to replace it with, you wouldn't just want your money back and call it a day?
No, yeah, that would work too.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, either way, they should be cool with whatever happens.
Either way, make sure you don't send it so it dies. Don't send it when there's a high chance of it dying, basically.
Right, and try to mitigate your risk as the buyer, and then as the seller, do it as well. So wait for some, or if you're comfortable shipping, there's people who have been shipping for a long time that can manipulate the box, the environment enough to survive in more extreme conditions.
But is it possible with green tree pythons to do it and to change that? It's possible.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it
because it's just that's good.
Why take the risk on an animal?
Right. I'm interested, Evan. What did the breeder do in the box? Because I'm assuming he tried something. And so I'd be interested to know, what did he try that he thought would keep it alive? Because I'm sure it would have to take a lot of stuff in there when you're shipping in the summer to Dallas where it's hot as fuck.
And then Evan said the temperatures in this situation were good on both ends. Somewhere in transit, it got cooked, which is kind of weird.
I don't understand that.
But either way, because maybe when it was at the hub, the breeder didn't realize what the temperature, maybe they shipped it from California. It was good weather, but it stayed overnight. This is probably a bad example because I know my hub's Memphis, but California's hub is definitely not Memphis. Maybe it's fucking Las Vegas or fucking Memphis.
But
either way, maybe the hub is hot. So maybe the breeder didn't appropriately look at every situation and if the hub was going to be proper temperature when it showed up there. So
when you're getting it overnight, it's not constantly moving. It still sits somewhere.
Yeah, we'll go through a hub.
but it's not like quick, like in the hub. Like it'll sit for hours at a time at that hub before it leaves.
All I know, I don't know for sure, but all I know is that Ship Your Reptiles wants you to look at the temperature at your hub, because I believe that's where it's going.
So at 3 locations, where it's leaving the hub and where it's going is where you should look at the temperatures. I mean, okay.
But I mean, I think that even if you think everything was fine, obviously everything wasn't fine. So, and if it wasn't late, then it wasn't the shipper. You didn't mitigate. I mean, either way, you chalk it up to
the breeder.
Like, yeah, but you chalk it up to like cost of doing business in a way. It's like, it happened. What are you going to, you still have to replace the animal. It's still your responsibility to make it right with the customer, even though it was unfortunate. Unfortunate things happen when you ship things,
right?
Whether it's you ship things for your online store or you ship reptiles and breed reptiles. Either way, I think you have to make it right. And then if you take a hit, then you take a hit and you got to absorb it and just get over it and move on.
But I'm thinking, you know, if you're going like really high up in green trees, like they have a lot of variability in how they look. You know, you could be picking, like you wanted that one specifically. And so I feel like with those, the replacing the snake is harder to do.
It's a yellow snake or a red snake that's going to turn into...
No, they look... if you're buying an adult, if you're not buying a baby, if you're buying an adult, you know, there's ones that are like, wow, this adult came out way better.
And then you just got to give money back.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And
you should always not spend the money right when you get it. Like, there's breeders who will get the money and then spend it immediately.
Right, you need to keep it till the person gets it.
Till they get it, you know, everything's good.
Is there warranties in snake?
If it's a lot of money, maybe give it 30 days to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, is there like do snake breeders do like warranties?
Some people do a week, some people do 2 weeks, some people even do a month.
Week.
Most of the time it's only but you can't control the environmental factors, especially with a green tree python.
Ooh, this is double burp.
The person who gets it, you can't set it up for them. You can't. So many people fuck up the setup. So it's like, at that point, it's out of your control.
What if like you get it, you can't get it eating for 2 weeks? Is that your fault? Is it and then they die or something? I don't know.
It's up to the breeder to make sure at that point, if it's not eating and the customer reaches out to you to say, well, how are you keeping it? Let's go through how you're keeping it. Let's go through what you're feeding it. Let's go through how to feed it. Okay. So I did that when I first got my green tree. I was like, why isn't this eating? He's like, bang it on the head and bang it on the tail. And it worked.
What?
Yeah. So it's like my prior experience with babies was going to be ball pythons, where if you hit it with a rat, it won't eat for like a fucking week. It'll be like, fuck that shit.
Right.
Green tree, they do caught alluring and stuff. So like their tail they use their tail to lure in prey.
Okay. I did not know that.
So something that touches their tail is probably going to be food.
And they're going to, okay.
Right. And then for some reason it works with like the neck head area too.
You literally just like hit it with the
and then after a while they just eat anything. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Is there any other species that does that? That does with their tail? Yeah.
I believe like eyelash vipers may. Some of the arboreal ones, but
okay.
Red Max asked a bunch of times where to incubate his corn eggs. Well,
you do it just in the snake room.
Right. I mean, if you don't have a snake room that stays above, regular room temperatures, my snake room's a little bit hotter than it would be in a normal room. So if you keep your house at 70 degrees or something, that may be a problem. But if you put it on top of the refrigerator, you may get,
a little
bit higher temperature. If you get up high, the hotter you get. And then also the fridge usually sends off heat, which seems
I didn't know that. Which seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, so definitely just if you have a heat gun, it works too. Be like, this is the warmest part of my house.
So just go around with the gun and find a warm spot and put them there.
I mean, I figured out that I put all the corn snakes on top of the rack, on the snake rack, instead of on just in the room, because the snake rack is going to be
hotter than just in the
because
room.
Obviously there's heat tape running through it. So
so that's an option.
So it's all just looking. Yeah.
So he said 79 degrees.
Yeah. So wherever it's 79 degrees, have them chill there as long as you have proper humidity. And then if you've never incubated snake eggs, then proper humidity with corn snakes, you can The substrate can be pretty much anything. You just want the humidity to stay somewhere near. Oh yeah, and the cottonmouths have those green tails, but you need to stay somewhere like at 100% humidity, but without any dripping water. So you want to get humidity as high as possible without dripping water.
Like spraying? Is that?
And then you definitely don't want to spray anything.
Never mind. Okay.
And so you want a substrate that's going to keep water for 70 to 100 days. You know, you want something that is good at absorbing water. You want a container that's going to be mostly sealed, besides maybe one air hole in it.
So after you did that initial, setting up the substrate for your eggs, you didn't add any more water after that first time? Because the bedding, what bedding are you using?
You can.
You're using Reptile, right?
Yeah. And so for incubating this year, I'm using Reptile.
Okay.
Previously, I did Hatch Right, which usually worked, but for all my ball pythons worked out 100%. And then ball pythons lay in the spring to summer, and then corn snakes are usually a little bit later because corn snakes are going to be spring breeders. Ball pythons are winter breeders. So I had the bag, zipped up and stuff, waiting. And then I think during sitting, it lost some humidity. So I think I did a lot better this time. But I also looked at it and poured some more water when I realized it's not.
This year or in the past?
In the past. There's not enough condensation on the side. So you definitely want to see condensation, but no dripping from above.
So, but this year you haven't had to add any more. It's
this year with the Reptile chip. Yeah, I mean, I soaked it pretty good. You want it damp, but not wet. I mean, just think about an egg as far as drowning and growing mold and stuff like that. I mean, you can even have it suspended over regular water, or even put it on sponges. I've seen
create that humidity.
Yeah, I mean, you can do the those light grids, like those white light grids.
I've seen that. I've seen eggs on top
so
of
you
those.
can put those grates, those light grates, and just put water underneath them and put the eggs on top, and it will.
And
I've never done that personally.
Or you just leave it up. You cover that though?
Yeah, okay. Cover it. Everything you're going to put in a nice
covered thing.
Right. I mean, corn snake eggs you just put in a Tupperware that's going to be sealed and just poke one air hole in it.
Can you not do Tupperware for other species?
Well, there's gonna be bigger. So like for
bigger Tupperware,
I usually use I used to use the size that's a little bit smaller than a shoebox for ball pythons. So it's just a Sterilite tub.
Okay.
And then those aren't airtight or anything like that.
Right. So they have the air,
and you're good to go. But
Evan says an egg crate.
Or
I don't know how he's used that.
Yeah, I haven't.
Would he put the eggs on top and water under the egg crate? Is that what he's saying?
Oh, like
I don't know how he's saying how he used the egg crate.
Yeah, I'm confused.
I don't know. But Red Max Player says the substrate absorbed the water, but it did not drip. So that's exactly what should happen, right?
Yeah, and then just keep an eye on it. You can tell when, if humidity is going to be too low, your eggs are going to start looking dehydrated, which means it's going to look like there's going to be less in the egg. It's going to dimple and
and so that's a sign that you need to add some more.
Right. And then too much water would be dripping off the top onto, and yes, it's called a light diffuser. That's what thing we were looking for. Those grates that go on the light.
Oh, called a light diffuser. Grid works for me.
But so yeah, I mean,
so what happens if during the incubation time mold starts forming in the substrate? Is that is it like if it's not on the eggs, substrate, is it really a problem?
Well, you don't want it to spread to the egg. So like that mold that you saw, because I had to put it in a different container with the Tupperware in it. The mold was on
on the round part. It's
that isn't touching the eggs.
That's what I meant.
It's in a separate container than
normally
the eggs.
You wouldn't have you have like two sets of substrate because you have it in the Tupperware and then you have the Tupperware itself in something.
Well, what happened is I originally put it in a Tupperware and then the eggs actually grew because they were a little dehydrated when I first put them in. And then they kind of grew a little bit, and then they were kind of tough getting into the Tupperware that they were in originally. So all I did was put that Tupperware in a bigger tub filled with more substrate, but still in that tub. So
what if there was mold on the substrate that the eggs are touching?
Well, you can have mold on the eggs, which you're going to want to try to kind of, what I would do is kind of try to rub it off with paper towel. And then I know some people, like once you get windows in the egg and stuff like that, you can actually crazy glue it.
What?
So the
and
crazy
glue
the
mold from
like
growing?
Creates like very dehydrated. You know, like if you put crazy glue on your finger or you get it on your finger, it's like very crusty and dehydrated. So it will seep that water out
of the mold.
Right. And then I'm not sure, or liquid Band-Aid. I've heard of people also doing that. But so I mean,
couldn't
there's only
just
so much you
replace
can
like the
mitigate
part that the mold is like before it gets to the eggs. Like you couldn't just take out the pieces you
right,
see.
but you may have it coming straight from the egg.
Oh, the egg could be causing the mold.
A lot of that time, that's usually going to be slugs too. I mean, they're going to mold immediately.
Okay.
So I mean, that's why you definitely you want to make sure you don't have any slugs in there. But you can get mold on just a regular egg, but
you've never had to use liquid bandage or
no, I've never. I had some mold with the ones that got a little dehydrated a few years ago. But
and what happened?
Nothing really affected anything.
Okay.
I just separated whatever eggs got moldy because they were too dehydrated, so I lost a few
in the beginning.
Right. Okay. So then those eggs started molding, so I took those eggs out so it doesn't affect the other eggs.
Ones. Gotcha. Red Max Player said he didn't get any slugs. We didn't either this year with our corns.
Yeah.
Well, in the first clutch. We're ignoring the second clutch. but the first clutch. Yeah. So Red Max Player, what substrate are you? Because he said it didn't drip. Yeah. I'm interested what substrate he is using.
And most people use like vermiculite, which is like a potting soil, but it's kind of more of that rocky. It's hard to explain if you don't know what it is.
Okay. Also, Lily Pad, she asked it twice, and I feel bad. She asked why snakes have forked tongues.
It's just to pick up more scent. So they're getting multi-directional scent pretty much from having the two tongues or the forked tongues.
Okay, which is essentially like having two tongues. You know, you get to Can they control them
not
separately? Like, can
independently, you just? I think, but
okay, but they're still going in two directions, so you're still getting heat this way.
Yeah,
I'm
not sure 100%.
I've never seen one just move the left side or just move the right side. I feel like they go together.
Yeah, but I guess Red Max used vermiculite.
Oh, okay.
To which the vermiculite, you just want to put enough water in it that when you squeeze it, like a little will come out, but it's not
like pooling or anything like that. Okay. Interesting.
Just give it a squeeze and then put it in there, and then drop it in. You're done.
Is there like a certain amount? Like I feel like you did
some
about half.
Some people do 1-to-1. Some people just
you did like half the Tupperware. I feel like right.
Amount
of substrate. Yes.
Yeah. So you obviously want enough to, especially with corn snake eggs. Ball pythons, I didn't really bury the eggs much. I just put a good layer, maybe 2 inches of hatchite, 2 to 3 inches of hatchite. Okay. You obviously don't want too little because just
there won't create enough.
There just won't be enough humidity, held in there.
Right.
It will dry out a lot quicker.
Is it possible to have too much for corn snakes?
No, not really. I mean.
So did you think like when you were
and what I like to do is like if you have sphagnum moss or hatchite or what do you call it? Reptile, you can kind of more of put them in the substrate with the substrate a little bit around it as well and keep
you
that
can't
humidity.
Do that with the vermiculite.
The vermiculite's going to be a little bit. It's like more solid. It's not as forgiving as far as it kind of blocks up once you put the water in it.
So would you put less of that? Because you can't bear, like if you were doing.
Don't overthink it.
Okay.
That's really it.
You just put some in there, just put some in there and call it a day.
Don't overthink it. I mean, if you only have one clutch, then you can keep an eye on it and you're fine.
Okay.
So Lilypad asked, if Kenyan Sambos don't constrict or have venom, do they swallow their prey alive? I've seen a bunch of snakes that don't. I mean, a lot of the snakes that aren't going to constrict are going to be snakes that actually live for the most part underground and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, but I've seen them. I've seen like pine snakes eat prey pretty much alive. So
really?
I can imagine they're alive most of the time.
But
the pine snakes usually will use like the size of their burrows and stuff to smash the prey against the side of the burrow and kind of constrict it or hold it in place like that.
That's so weird
Kenyan
to me.
sand boas will do the same thing, I believe. So
I can't even envision like them. Why I can't. Yeah.
Most of the I think even ball pythons, I mean, they go out and they clear out rodent burrows, or if they're in termite mounds that may have rodents that facilitate them, they may eat one rodent and pin the rest against the wall and keep them so they can eat them. But
that's weird. But as far as when you're keeping them, they don't ever like captive. They don't ever store them up for later. They just eat them right there, right?
They're not storing them up for later. They'll eat everything. I mean, they're opportunistic. They're not saving anything for later. But you
said they'll put it around the edge in the termite mound.
Well, no, they're just keeping them in there so that they can eat them.
Oh, as they're eating them instead of just having it out. Okay.
Well, they don't want. They run away or go wherever,
or someone else. Okay.
Or they'll bite them or do.
Gotcha. So kill them first, and then.
Yeah. So even snakes will kill things and not eat them necessarily.
I mean, this just makes me think of it like your snakes, obviously captive born bred. Some of them, why do they still constrict things when you would, in my mind, they would understand at this point that you were giving them something that's dead. And, it's not like you pulled them from the wild and that's just they've had to do that in the past. Right. If their whole life you've been giving them dead things, why do they still wrap it up like it's alive?
I don't know. I don't make believe that they're intelligent.
But there's other things, natural or just not natural selection, evolution. I don't know what words I'm using, but there's other things where they've adapted to being captive born bred that they don't do in the wild because they don't need to do.
Make sure, not really in snakes though. They pretty much keep most of their habits.
I will think of something. I feel like there's other things they do, but okay.
But I mean, what were we talking about?
Constricting, or just keeping things wild.
Yeah, I mean, I do my best to make sure that the snake thinks it's alive. Though
I've always,
I always shake it around and keep it semi-warm.
What does that do to make it think it's alive?
The corn snakes, a lot of times, they just pick up like dead pinkies and don't constrict it.
They don't do it because
they may do it to the first one if I'm
shaking it, but after that it's just kind of like
they'll just take it.
But I feel like all the other ones constrict it.
I think that also lends itself to what prey it's eating in the wild, and then also they may be eating things that are already dead in the wild.
Corn snakes.
Yeah, who knows?
And that's why they. I don't know. It just seems silly to me to constrict a dead thing, but like you said, you're not saying they're intelligent.
Something like a python won't even give a shit about something dead. It doesn't really want to eat it unless it's warm.
Okay, so but like your jungles, do they? I can't think. Do they constrict
keep it warm, or else they don't even give a shit?
But do they just eat and go, or do they constrict it like the other ones?
They constrict.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's how that's a species that I'm tricking it to thinking it's live pretty much, or else they don't give a shit. I mean, if I put it in cold, some of them would eat it, but for the most part, that's not going to be a good strategy going forward.
It's so weird that you think after they don't give a shit after a while, but they still think they want the light, they still want it to be live.
Yeah. I mean, it's just something that protects them in the wild. If they're going around eating everything in the
wild, they've never. How do they know what that is? You know what I mean? If they've been born in captivity, how do they know those defense mechanisms in the wild? Like they never had to do that. So I mean, I know their parents and ancestors or whatever had to do it, but like they never had to do it.
Right, but there's so many things that we still hold, like humans.
No, I was about to say completely different statement. I feel like there's shit like hunter gatherers. We don't have that. I can't.
Right, but so many people who don't put themselves in activities that test their body and do different things for them. So many people are so unhappy, and that's probably why. Because we're not fulfilling any of our natural instincts.
Okay, you're getting to a way different thing. Talking about
probably
happiness.
Why like 80% of people in the U.S. like don't like their jobs and hate their lives. So
different subject.
No, but it is the same subject because
we're not talking about happiness.
Because everyone has built-in
natural tendencies
right. And things, and snakes aren't that far removed from the wild. We've only been captive breeding for, maybe since the 70s. So.
Right. I guess
at least in large amounts.
I'm speeding up the process in my head. I'm thinking that they will just.
And then it's something that's built into them so that they don't get diseases. They're not just eating anything that's dead because, you know, they may pick up something from a dead animal because obviously that animal died. Who knows if it was natural
what happened
causes.
or right.
But Red Max player said, why do pythons wrap up their food while they're eating?
Similar question that.
Well, I mean, if he wonders, like, from the beginning, why, like, obviously to constrict it and
to
stop
kill it.
Blood flow and, you know, to kill it and then also disable it from injuring them while they eat it.
But it's weird that, like, your jungles, you have to present them to them like it's live, even though they eat it dead because they, you know, in their mind, they're constricting it till it's dead.
Still warm. So that's why you may have
freshly dead.
Yeah, you're gonna have, like, maybe for baby pythons, you're gonna have better luck with killing the rat or the mouse,
right then,
and then immediately feeding it.
Okay, if it's having some issues eating.
Right. So it's kind of warm.
Freshly dead. I like that.
Freshly dead. That's
like,
really good.
They like it.
Yeah. And that's obviously just a mechanism, like I said before. That
in my mind, eventually they won't do that anymore. But I don't know how stuff works.
I mean, that's like all they're meant to do in life, though.
Is what? Kill things?
Eat and breed.
Right.
That's really it. So
but
you're like,
I'm just saying eating in a different manner. That eventually they will.
I mean, we're making snakes much better at eating in general how we want them. Hognose don't eat any rodents in the wild, but here we are feeding them all rodents.
So right, there's something that's have changed from the wild.
Yeah, but we have manipulated it hardcore, and it does. We can make them do what we want them to do to a certain degree, and we're trying harder.
So you
and harder
said
to
everything's in the wild. No, we have been able to make some things, you know.
But
things for captive born bred.
But take the hognose, for instance, they still have most of their instincts. So when I go in there, they hiss at me
and bluff and all that stuff.
Yeah, so it's like they still have all the instincts from the wild. We just manipulated them a little bit to eat rodents.
You can't apply the same manipulation to other stuff.
To make it eat cold things? I don't know. I don't even know if you want to do, you know, like you just want them to eat better. That's really it. I mean, the more you breed, the more you're going to have generations of things that have never eaten anything out of the wild, you know, so they're going to be more apt to take frozen thawed and stuff like that. But
so stuff does change.
But to a certain degree, you know, we still have ball pythons that you need to, or I still have corn snakes that I need to feed a nulls to at first.
Right, because some are picky still. I think those are just outliers because it's not on a grand scheme that corn, you know, you have those corn snakes. It's just, there's always going to be an outlier in every situation. Right. You said, do snakes have a sense of smell with their tongues? That's kind of
what we were, thinking before. So what they do is put out their tongues, get like the particles of scent. It's kind of hard. They kind of taste
the feeling.
They taste it. So basically they're bringing that and then sucking up little particles into they have this thing called a Jacobson organ.
Why is it called a Jacobson? Is that someone's name?
Homeboy probably just found it out. He just
just named after him. It's his own, snakes organ didn't exist before he named it. So it's just a Jacobson organ.
Just like anything else that people, we have fucking
we don't have people's names of our body parts. No, we don't.
Google it, I'm sure we do. But
our heart is not named after someone.
James Hart. Yeah.
No, it's not.
English biologist. So that just it's a thing that translates the
particles to smell.
To smell them. But
that's weird.
So it's a totally different process
than how we smell.
Right, but we want to equate everything in comparison to us. So we're like, it smells like tasting the air.
That's what we know.
Right, so we put it through our lens and say that it
translated
smells with its tongue. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Which is true, you know.
So if a snake didn't have that Jacobson or like it was birth defect, like something, how would that affect their eating or their anything? Like
you'd be pretty dunzo. You ever see what's that movie? Walk Hard. He was.
What is Walk Hard?
He lost his sense of smell.
Walk Hard. I don't know
it's a movie.
Who's in it? It sounds like Will Ferrell.
Yeah, it's a guy who's with him, who's John in Step Brothers. He plays like Johnny Cash / it just makes fun of all the rock stars from all the movies, like all the rock star movies.
Isn't he in another one called Get Hard with Kevin Hart? Yes.
Will Ferrell is.
Yeah.
Not John. Oh shit.
Peter? No, that's Napoleon Dynamite. John C. Reilly?
John C. Reilly, yeah. But anyway, that's
okay. Sorry.
Nothing.
So they wouldn't eat if they didn't have that Jacobson organ. You don't think they'd eat or do anything?
I don't know, man. I mean, some depend more on. I mean, colubrids tend to use eyesight more than other snakes do. Pythons usually use heat sensing more than others.
So it just depends on the species, though.
I don't know. And I mean, if it happened, then we maybe that's why you have snakes that don't eat.
Like maybe they have a defective Jacobson organ.
They can't tell us though, right?
Or maybe X-rays show it.
X-rays.
See the organ and see if it's like.
I don't know. No one's trying that.
I just have so many questions about snakes, and the answer is like no one's researched it.
No one gives a fuck.
No one gives a fuck. So I can't have answers to my questions because no one has researched this.
Because realistically, we don't know why these things happen. Like some things happen to humans, so we're not gonna know why they happen in snakes. But.
No, we would know what happens in humans if you don't have your sense of smell.
No, but there's other things where you're just like, oh, it happens. So, that happened. Oh, he got Lou Gehrig's disease. Whatever, like Alzheimer's.
Tired of having these questions that don't have answers.
Yeah, but that's
but
science.
People are doing the research for it. People aren't doing the research for these questions for snakes.
Yeah, because people don't want to fund a organ.
Anyone? I'll make a GoFundMe. I will make a GoFundMe for Jacobson organ research.
You'll be the only backer. So.
It's gonna be all what is a Jacobson organ? Like that's all it's gonna be.
You're not playing to a very big crowd on that.
Lilypad said, "Why aren't there any blue corn snakes?" There might be, and we just haven't found it yet, right?
Yes and no, because blue's a really hard color to come across in snakes. So,
why?
So even though we have all these snakes, morphs for ball pythons.
Right.
We haven't really made anything actually blue.
Oh.
For whatever reason, that's just something that doesn't occur very much in snakes.
The only thing blue that even comes to mind is the belly of your king snake. That's blue.
And, I mean, there's green tree pythons that just happen to turn blue, which is very nice.
But is only part of the time.
Well, no, and they're like the sickness. He's blue and black.
Right, but I'm saying it doesn't happen all the time. They're not always blue.
Most of the time, they're not.
Right.
If they were always blue, then
is there another blue one?
Yeah, there's some. I can't think off the top of my head.
That's so weird. Why? Like, what's so special about blue that it? Yeah, like what?
I don't. It's just like, why aren't there humans that are purple?
No, because we're all. Never mind.
Well, yeah, we all are the same species.
But also we are just black losing pigment. They're not. They're
or are we white gaining pigment?
Whatever.
Racist.
They're not. We don't have yellows, orange, blues, or not blue. But it makes sense that like they.
Oh yeah, they're blue garter snakes, red-sided garters.
Okay.
And then also like. Some ribbon snakes, a bunch of garter snakes have blue in them.
Our minds couldn't think of it. So yeah, but there's no blue.
And there's many more. There's just 4,000 species of snakes that I never.
But when you look at the spectrum, blue is a smaller quantity,
especially in things that we keep very. And then also, there's no snakes that are like mostly blue. Like red-sided garters have blue in them.
Right, but they're not all blue.
And then also in the wild, they're much more subdued than what we have created in captivity.
Right. So it's like for snakes, they have pretty much all other fucking colors in the rainbow except for blue. You can't compare it to humans. We only have like 3.
Yeah. And I mean, there's some other like reds can be kind of hard to come across for some.
Definitely.
And then you have like some that kind of get there. But also people will be willing to call things purple that are like not really purple, and then we're trying to get to like reds or blues, but it doesn't. And then there's some like random snakes like
oranges,
some coach whips that are like red, and some that are just crazy colors, but no one's working with them. Even sometimes when we get a good looking snake, not a lot of people work, like the neotropical bird snakes and stuff.
I don't even know
you
what
have
that
to Google
is.
that, but it's like a fucking confetti.
But
it can be all different colors. They're just hard to keep, so everyone just kind of ignores it, so it doesn't become a popular thing.
So like there could be other colors. It's just
there are like a bunch of,
but no one's doing it really because it's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it's just, you know, the marketability just isn't there, and you can't reproduce them, so you're getting them. Those neotropical bird snakes, they're all imported.
Oh, so pants.
Were
they smuggled at one point, or they've always been?
No, they're just legally imported from Indonesia. Indonesia doesn't give a fuck.
They'll send us anything.
Yeah. But
okay, so yeah, I have to go.
All colors of all things. How long have we been doing it?
For an hour. It's 5:57.
We got a little bit. We got to fill 4 minutes.
I need to.
Or else people will think that like we didn't enjoy ourselves.
We did.
But really, you just had to.
I have to go do
babysit.
Stuff. How does this show me where we are? Isn't there usually a timer?
No, it doesn't. I just use Instagram to see when we get to an hour.
Oh, right, because Instagram shuts off after an hour.
But anyway, so yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. But so 71 days, we're gonna have babies soon.
So it should happen like 1 or 2. Yeah.
I keep on. It sucks when you only have one clutch because I keep on always.
You're just waiting. You're exciting and anticipating, and we watch like Brian every day, and every day it's like new stuff.
If you have like 5 clutches at least going, then you like forget about them, and then they're hatching, and then it's exciting.
This we're like so focused on that one.
There's only one, so you just fucking wait.
Yeah, but we can do a little outro. Next week. I won't be babysitting, so it will be 2 o'clock. I mean, Tuesday.
2 o'clock in Belgium.
Tuesday.
Yes.
Back at 6 next week. Yes.
Tuesday at 6 Central Standard Time. If anyone is listening to this, downloaded in their car, in their snake room,
SoundCloud,
in their
iTunes.
Where else would you listen to this? On your
just whatever your other job
is. Working out thing on your job.
I wouldn't want to listen to this working out.
I do it, but no one else probably would.
Also, be on the lookout for new videos in the next coming days on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. So, like, we kind of, DFW got 6,200 views in 48 hours, which is super YouTube, cool.
So like, we're definitely going to try to pump out some more.
YouTube is real all of a sudden, but it's still dog shit in comparison to everyone else. But
people should be expecting another video on YouTube.
It would be
in the
sweet
next couple
if you
days.
subscribe to me on YouTube.
Can you answer my question? People should be expecting a new video.
Yeah. Okay. I just got to do this spreadsheet when I get on.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to hear about that?
No, they don't.
Anyone want to hear about that?
No, they don't.
No.
But we're trying to put out more videos for y'all. Keep new stuff. Definitely the videos will include snakes. Someone said make sure your next one actually includes snakes.
Yeah, so what I did is I filmed a video about olive pythons and keeping olive pythons. So I'm gonna pretty much go through all the snakes that I keep and go through kind of rate them on what I think is a good snake to keep and what. So like an olive python, say housing is hard because they get big. Housing maybe 2 out of 5 stars, but temperament maybe 3 out of 5 stars.
Okay. I like that.
It's my favorite snake, but it's not for
the rest of the world. For ease.
Not necessarily.
It's not your favorite for ease.
Right. So a corn snake, maybe 5s in a bunch of those, or getting the feed for.
I like that idea.
So
you're gonna do that for each of your snakes. Okay. Right. And then you will be showing off the snake during it.
Yeah, and then also I have shots of the snakes themselves, so I'll be talking and then also holding a snake if I can. If the snake I can hold, there's obviously some snakes that I can't hold. You can't
just hold through it, right?
Yeah, like I won't just be holding a green tree python, but
yeah, okay, good.
Yeah,
also, I want you to do a video on what Lily Pad asked last time about like anatomy stuff, like the eye scales.
I already kind of did that, and no one liked it, so I didn't do it anymore.
When did you do that video?
So I did that like a year or two ago. 2 years ago, I did like how snakes work in general.
Yeah, but that was 2 years before we started doing like consistent. That was old. That was before we started doing, you know what I mean? Before we started doing vlogs and the podcast. Really,
people
2 years.
Didn't like it though. I didn't get like many subscribers or many views, but that one got like 16,000. But everyone hated the video.
Well, I think you should do it again. Maybe do a different title. I don't know. We're an hour. I gotta go babysit.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you guys for listening. Check me out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends if you would like to. If you made it this far.
Oh, we haven't done that in so long. You haven't said that. If you made it this far, you're on the team.
Yeah, but it's not very far because it's a short one because you're leaving.
Oh my God, goodbye.
Bye.